All right, we are live week 4 of the NFL and college football here on the Over Under 985 podcast. I'm Joe Murray. He is Dan Lifshatz. We're back. We're cold. Cold as ice.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Last night I was working on the radio. I gave out a pick live on the air and it hit. So I was like, woo, all right, let's do this. And then Goran Dragic got hurt and the team total pushed. I gave a Lakers team total 51 pushed. And I was been running that Heat team total as well. That lost last night, injuries and a blowout. So those are the things you got to worry about when and then y'all scammed us on that Ravens pick. We gave you a double PP. It lost. And just speaking of that, in the middle of the game, Dan, I just said, all right, I'm bailing out. I'm taking the Chiefs. And it won. I just washed out. I didn't want to lose my bet. But, I get it. We're not good right now. We're cold. I get it. Happens. I'm not scamming any of you. I take 0 of your dollars. You can choose to fade the picks or follow them. We say that every single week. That's kind of my motto. I'll take the L's, dude. Like that, dude. The Chiefs, fucking great. Go ahead. That's why I bailed out. I was smart enough to do it, but to say we're I can't scam you. I don't take any of your money. You can choose to fade or follow, and hey, we're cold right now. So if we give you a pick, be like, oh, these guys are cold. Why don't you just fade it? That's my only beef, dude. I've been doing this I've been doing this 10 years, Dan. I've been doing this type of betting show for 10 years. And that's the way it goes. So we already got some people chatting in. We can hear your thoughts, Dan. How you doing? Hi, Dan. Hello,
What's up?
Dan.
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I'm good. I mean, we've been cold. I particularly have been. I think I've been worse than you have, and I know that you haven't been fantastic. I've been worse than you. It's funny. Personally, I've actually been doing super fucking well. It's just everything that we give out and everything we post, I can't win. It is what it is. We have 2 years or 2.5 years of track records, and unfortunately, right now we're cold, and I'll fucking own it. I am not doing well at all. I totally own it. But we did hit the Heat series future.
Yeah, Heat. You had the Heat. You bet the Heat in 6, and it won in 6.
Yep. We had the Tampa Bay Lightning to win the NHL Stanley Cup. We cashed that. Obviously, we have the Lakers futures from before the season. Those look very, very good. And we have the Storm plus 500 to win the WNBA Finals. They are in the WNBA Finals against the Las Vegas Aces, and they are heavy favorites. I think they're minus 370, 325, 385, on the money line in the series. So, you can bail out of the Lakers. You can bail out of pretty much everything you want if you want. But yeah, the futures are looking very good. Joe, your baseball futures over 19.5 home runs, Oakland to win the division, and the Reds under 31.5 wins. All hit.
Yeah. So what's funny about that is the last game. So it's that Sunday hit. And so my book, like how it works for most people, I don't know how it works for everybody else, but Monday is a new week. And on Monday, I went out. I just went to look at, all right, baseball starts at noon today. Let's see what we got. And I started the week like, whoa. I was like, whoa. Because that home run was my biggest bet of the year. That hit, the A's hit, A's win total. Reds was another one.
Yep. You also hit the division for the A's too.
And I was like, holy crap. So listen, I know the picks haven't been great, but we did give out some that, dude, and I'm going to be honest with you too. I bet picks on my own. Like I had Auburn this week. You knew I had Auburn. I didn't take it. I just decided that I didn't tell the audience to take it or anything like that, or make it a BP or anything like that. And dude, trust me, the world was on Kentucky. You saw that. Everybody was, I'll take it. And I get why. They got a decent quarterback.
Except for the reps who decided that a player who was 4 feet in the fucking end zone was not a touchdown. That's why. Still to this day, the worst call.
They still called back. That was a bolt. I just thought it was bullshit. The touchdown before the half that they
I mean,
called.
it should have been a touchdown. It doesn't matter. It should have been a touchdown. They should have been up 7. That play would never happen. So
yeah, and I think it doesn't matter. There was another. I loved Florida. I didn't take Florida. I'm trying to think if there was another one that I hit late at night. I was out for the day, so I couldn't like make picks or anything like that. And then all the upsets happened, right? LSU went down, Oklahoma went down, and then we saw what Mike Leach. Right? You were hyping the Leach train, so I'll give you that.
I had the I played a little money line on that. Yes, I did. I felt that was very nice for me, and I hit that for sure. Now again, I didn't give it out, so I can't really fucking tout it.
Yeah,
tout it. You know what I
mean? That's what we do. We discuss every game, and we
right.
You know.
But yeah, Oklahoma looked, as you said, looked terrible last week. Texas barely by the skin of their asses, beat Texas Tech. Somehow got it in overtime and won. There was a lot to discuss last week in college football. We're not going to be able to get to all of it today. Georgia looked horrendous in the first half. 5 points in the first half, with losing to Arkansas.
And they play Auburn this week.
Yeah. So, there's a lot to discuss. Miami obviously obliterated Florida State. Oklahoma State looked better. Tennessee held on. BYU won, et cetera. Pittsburgh ended up winning and covering for me, not for anyone else. The Baylor over was one of the worst. One of the worst I've had. So
I gave out the Army team total, and dude, like I can't believe how many people hit me up and said a guy just dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Like, I think it landed. It was 14. Yeah, the total was 16. I think it was.
Yep.
And dude, like you don't know how many people were like, a guy just dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Like, and I was like, oh no, and I couldn't watch it. I was busy all day. I wasn't watching the games. I was out on a trip for the day. So yeah, it was, it's not great. And then the Celtics lost. So what happened with me is I was riding that Heat team total. Anything between 104 and 107, man, it was money. I think I hit it 6 in a row. And then I took it last night. But the Heat series with the Celtics, I know you liked them in 6. I did not. I actually took the Heat in game 6. Money line, and then and what's funny was I took the Heat in game 5, and that second half the Celtics were outstanding, and they were -4 that second half. They blew it away. I didn't touch it, but I would have lost my ass off on that one because I thought the Heat were going to win that night. So yeah, I had the Heat for the game in game 5, and then I hit it game 6. But that's that. The Celtics are over. We're moving on from that, and I don't know. It's kind of demoralizing.
Yep, we have not done well. I will say I think the futures have kept us afloat for sure, which is nice. Really can't complain about that. But yeah, the futures, at least in the last couple weeks, have absolutely kept us afloat and have made it from a horrendous outing to a okay outing. So, anyways, we will hopefully get better. I'm going to go back to how I picked games in college football last year. At the end of last year, I was in a little bit of a cold streak. Again, after we came out, we were hitting 80% the first 6 weeks of college football. Not a joke, not an exaggeration. Joe and I were literally at 80%.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yep. Yeah. And so I changed things up at the end of last year. It did well. I continue that into this year. It has not done well. I'm going back to how I started last year, changing a few things around. So let's see what happens there, and I'm gonna change some things in the NFL too.
Ebb and flow, man, and it's I just want to preach this one more time to people. We've been betting all year long. I think there was a period of time between March and whenever things started back up where I just was dabbling at stuff. UFC, I was doing pretty very well for a period of time, but my bankroll started when the NBA came back, and all that. So I have a bad week, dude. It's a bad week for me. I understand that some people listen to us for betting advice and they lose, and they're losing now. I get it, but this is something we do year round. So it just dips in. We have a bad week, it dips into our bankroll, and we just get back up on the horse. I understand that some people bet and shit. I lost my $400 or $500 this week, and you guys cost me. And I get it. I get why you're upset. It's just that this is why we preach, percentages and and don't get me wrong, dude. There was a bet this weekend. I wasn't smart. I thought the Vikings would win outright, so I saw they getting plus points second half. I advised to take it. They lost outright, so that's a double loss. That's not bankroll management. Even hedging out of the Chiefs game, I won my bet, but like it's not the greatest bankroll management. But like you guys can decide that. You know what I mean? I'm not like the one who's gonna like, hey, here's what I think, and you guys can do what you want with it. So I'm just throwing it all out there for the people that are like, oh, what do these guys know or any of that shit. Yep. When you win, everything's great. When you're losing, it's like, let's try this, let's do that. So I'm in one of those spots right now. Damn, I'm like, fuck it, let's just.
If we have another bad week, you need to bring out the fucking guitar. I mean, honestly, if we have a bad week this week, week 5, we're going to the fucking guitar. The guitar is like the last hope, man.
There's no guitar in the house.
Well, I will drive one to your motherfucking house.
I have. There's one back home. I can get one back home. I leave it at my mom's.
There's one. There's still one in the radio station too. So, all right, let's get.
We want the guitar.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
All right, so 10 minutes. 10 minutes what's that?
If it's bad this week, I said if it's bad this week, we bring the guitar.
Dude, the card this week, I don't think is great either.
I don't either.
I don't love the guy. I do. Dan, I know. I'll just promote this or whatever. So Odd Sharks reached out. Hey, we got this cappers contest. Do you want to do it? So they send 6 picks, and I just look at it and I'm like, oh shit, what 6 picks am I going to send them this week? So somehow, some way, I don't know how, I'm in 5th place right now.
Yeah, doing well.
But somebody's crushing it. There's one guy. If you want to follow that guy, go follow that guy's picks. Some guy's crushing it. Yeah. I just happened to get lucky on the underdogs or whatever. But I had to come up with 6 picks this week, and it was not easy. And I tweeted it out.
I think you went 3. I think did you go 3-2 last week or 4-2?
I missed. I don't. Well, I gave out 6, so yeah. They only count you if they only want your 5 picks. The 6th is
gotcha. So you went 3-2. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I did go. I think I did go 4-2, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, it's a tough week. Is all I'm saying, and I guess we should start.
And we own it. We own that we own it.
Dude, we suck. The last year we went 80% was showing our balls off to the world and be like, oh, look at us. We were like the shit. We're give us a show, and they gave us a show. It's like, oh, well, look at us. Look at us. We're on the top podcast. Now we suck. So, but what I'm just trying to preach, Dan, though, is that when I start my betting this year, it's not like coming out of my weekly paycheck. This is something that I've built up, that I'm building over time, and that I'm betting. So if I want to put 30% of my bankroll on a bet, I'll do it. Like I did with baseball this year. You know what I'm saying? I did it because
it's a crazy motherfucking bet.
When you have it, you do it. But dude, don't get me wrong. I've been hit, I don't know, 20%. I don't know what it is over the last 4 weeks or whatever it is. It's not great, but some shit's balanced out. That's all I'm saying. Be wise. And the other thing I'll say is I got a buddy who hits me up all the time. I hope he's listening. He hits me up. I got $1,000 on the over. I'm like, dude, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday night, buddy. You know how many games there are on Saturday? There's 2 on Friday.
If you like something, you like something. And just
but dude, there's so many more games is all I'm trying to say.
I get it.
There's all right. 4 baseball games in a day, by the way.
Speaking of games, let's get into 3 football games tonight. We got 3. Okay.
There's 3 games tonight?
3 games tonight. There's 2 college and 1 NFL.
Wait. What is in college tonight? I've seen nothing in college tonight.
Okay. We have Campbell. Sorry, tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Yeah, okay,
sorry, I apologize. Wow. I fucked up there. I kept thinking.
No, there's only 1 Thursday night game this week.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's get into the Thursday night football game. It's the ugliest game maybe of the year. It is the Broncos Jets. All right.
Oh, I gave out a player's card. Does that mean I have to give it as a PP?
No, you do not.
All right. But I gave out a pick.
Okay.
And I you give your spiel and I'll give mine.
Okay. So let's just kind of discuss is the Broncos opened the Broncos opened -2 on the spread, and that quickly moved to -3. That was when everyone assumed Jeff Driscoll was starting. The Jets 3-point home dogs. There was some legitimate value there. That's probably the way I would have gone, early in the week. The Broncos then decided no longer Jeff Driscoll was starting. They were going to name Brett Ripien, who is the nephew.
Rippin.
Yeah, Brett Ripien, whatever. Ripien, Mark Ripien, Ripien, whatever. Okay, Mark Ripien. Brett Ripien is the nephew of Mark Ripien. Okay, he was appointed at Boise State, quarterback there.
Good, he was efficient.
He was very efficient. I did not think he was an NFL style quarterback, but he was a good college guy. Okay, the Broncos then immediately moved from -3 to -2.5 to -2 to -1, and then flipped last night to the Jets -1. That is flipped back. It is now Denver -1 or Pick'em, depending on the website. I see a Pick'em right now in some locals. At 5 dimes, there is a -1. So it really depends. I think you're talking about a minimal kind of line there, 1 or 0, but pretty much Pick'em are -1 now, okay? The total in this one opened at 41. It's sitting at 41.5. I'd say this is probably pretty even in terms of the bet. Probably seeing about 50-50 on the over and the under. I have no idea what to do with this game, Joe. None. I don't have a great feel on the side. I felt like the Jets at 3 was a pretty solid bet. Home dog facing an 0-3 team, 2 0-3 teams. Maybe I was slightly overrated because of how well Driscoll and them performed 2 weeks ago. Now I look at this and say, well, it's basically a pick 'em. Both these teams suck. I don't know how much of a massive home advantage there is. My favorite thing tonight in the entire game is the field goal prop over the longest field goal over 45.5 yards. That's it. Again, and yes, there's going to be the angle of Gase coaching for his job. Yeah. How much do the players like him? We don't know. The players, from all accounts, don't like Adam Gase. If they see a way to get out of him, are they going to fucking, maybe not block as hard? Maybe, if there's a tight end who can get to the second level of a block, is he going to get to that second level? There's a lot of variables in tonight's game. I don't have a good feel for it whatsoever. I'm not touching a spread. I'm not touching a total. I want nothing to do with it. My favorite play, and I'm not even playing it, but just my favorite thing is the classic Thursday longest field goal over 45.5 yards. I'm not playing it, but that would be the prop I would give out if you're really desperate for some Thursday action. That's it. That's what I have tonight, Joe.
All right. I gave out the Jets pick 'em, but when I looked this morning, I got it at -125. So essentially a money line play. But here's my reason for the Jets. And listen, this game sucks. What? I'm betting this to bet it, not even to, I like Greg Williams in his defense versus basically a rookie quarterback who's 24, making his first career start. I just go back to what he did 3 years ago to Sam Darnold in his first start. Denver's rookie center, Cushenberry, has sucked. He has not been good.
Agreed.
So I think they might be able to take advantage of it. They gave up 6 sacks last week, the Broncos. So I think that's another way, maybe force turnovers to Ripien. And the Jets need to play from ahead, dude. They haven't played from ahead like all year long. I saw that Crowder is going to be playing tonight. They've been running Frank Gore a lot. Who knows? National TV, maybe Frank Gore gets going again. Everyone says how great he is and whatever. Again, I'm reaching, okay? I want you to know.
I'm reaching. You're not wrong. I'd say the Broncos, they've lost, they've lost how many players to injury?
Yeah, they
so
got no
far, Von Miller.
No Lindsey tonight. The other dude got hurt for them. They're
Von Miller's out for the season. Jarrell Casey got hurt.
Yeah, Jarrell Casey. He's out. Yep.
And Cortland Sutton's out for the season.
Yep. I mean, dude, listen, they had a chance to beat the Titans. They have a nice little team. I think they're poorly coached. And I don't know. Like, I don't mind Driscoll. I know that he's slow. And I know what he is. I just think they're reaching tonight with Ripien. This is an undrafted kid who, don't get me wrong, put up big numbers at Boise State, and maybe he should have been drafted. I don't know. Whatever. The point is, he's getting the start tonight. The last time the two teams played, the Jets won 34-16. I see two shit teams playing tonight, Dan. I took the Jets. They're at home. They need a win. They want to win for their coach. They got a better maybe they have a better defense. I don't know. All I'm saying is this: I'm taking the Jets tonight. And if I had to take a look at a total, I mean, these are two shitty teams, right? So I assume over 39 is probably the play. I mean, I don't want to watch a 16-3 game, 13-6 game. I don't want to see that.
The total now is at 41.5. So
all right. So I saw it at 39 and I liked it.
Okay. Yep, so it's now at 41.
Dan, my pick is the Jets to win. Minus 125 was the money line. I don't know what the money line is right now. Sure. Let me look it up just so I can.
I will pull it up. Where do you want me to pull it up? You want to pull it up on an official book? 5 Dimes, again, is no longer.
What the hell happened with that?
We can talk about that another day.
We knew that. We knew that, though. We knew that.
Yeah, 5 Dimes is no longer catering the U.S. players, but they have a sister site called Bet Any Sports that basically is the same thing. They also have a sister site called VietBet. Right now on that site, the Broncos pick 'em is minus 117. The Jets are minus 103. Ooh. So basically, the Broncos minus 117 on the money line. The Jets minus 103. Total sitting at 41 here.
The old local has pick 'em minus 110. Eat both sides. Total 41. That's a real line. A real line from a local.
Yeah.
Just wanted to show everybody that.
And right now, Penny is at 41.5 on the total. So that's where they're getting the 41.5. So, anyways, look, I think that we pretty much already know, how this game is going to suck if you watch it. Good luck. I was wrong about the unders last week. I thought there would be offensive regression. There was in the first half of many games, and then in the second half there was just an explosion of points. And so that obviously did not go super well. At some point, either the books are going to have to adjust to the totals, or that. Again, we see a question: do you know what the percentage of money is on the Jets? So I'll give you the percentages. 54% of the bet is on Denver. 53% of the money is on the Jets. So there you go. Honestly, I could see this game being, high 60s in the total, Joe. I could see this game being in the 25s in the total. I really have no idea what to expect. I assume that we're going to get some interesting play. I am going to watch this game. So, it'll be all right. I don't want to talk too much about it because I think there is a lot to talk about. By the way, Joe, breaking news. The Philadelphia 76ers have hired Doc Rivers as their head coach. 5 years. 5-year contract. That's going to be
just while we're on that. Well, so I disagree. I think Doc is going to look at Simmons and be like, this kid's a point guard or he's not. I think, dude, Doc played in the league for how many years? He's had great point guards. He really has, if you think about it. Rondo was great. I'm trying to think of who he had. Who did he have in Orlando?
He didn't. I mean, he had like DJ Augustine for a while.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
He didn't have a good point guard.
He had Chris Paul.
Yeah, I was going to say after Chris Paul, he did not.
And then Beverly was not great. And I don't know. I mean,
Beverly's very good on one side. He's a 3.
Beverly's like the point guard Marcus Smart.
I'd say he's better than that in terms of actually giving you, knowing his role. Yeah. In terms of the actual player, Smart's better. But
I'll tell you this much: coaching on that team was needed. Discipline on that team is needed. I think he'll identify the point guard on that team, and if I think Embiid is the guy there. I don't know. Fuck it. Throw it in the fire. Let's see what you got.
I think it's going to be a fucking utter disaster. Doc has not been a good coach in years, like legitimate years.
Oh, I think he's a good coach. Whether the results are there or not is a question.
He's not a good coach. He's a player's coach.
No. Hear me out.
The players like him. He actual X's and O's. He's one of the bottom 5 coaches in the league.
What I'm trying to say here is Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, I think, would have beat anybody that year.
Right.
Whoever the coach was, but I think Doc had something to do with it.
Yeah, he bonded the team with the Ubuntu.
But to have Kawhi, Paul George, and all those pieces, and not go to the finals is fucking ridiculous.
It's year in and year out now with the guy. So, anyways, I just wanted to quickly touch upon that. Yes, it was breaking news 30 minutes ago, but the contract just came out, and that's 5 years. It's a 5-year fucking agreement. So that's ridiculous. I honestly think that Philadelphia is going to fucking hate that hire, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll give him a chance, but just know it very much becomes less terrifying with Philadelphia with Doc Rivers as the fucking coach because I think Brett Brown is a better X's and O's guys than Doc Rivers, and that's fucking terrible. So,
all right, let's do Friday night college football, October 2nd. Campbell at Wake Forest. Wake Forest. We saw that game against UNC. I'm not sure if they played last week. They didn't. And then they play Campbell. Campbell's covered 3 in a row, dude. They got a nice little quarterback.
This is their final game of the season, too. Haj Malik Williams. This is it.
Fucking give me Campbell.
Yeah, they are 3-0 against the spread. Wake Forest. I believe they played last week.
Wake Forest, I think, played. I wanted to say.
No, I think they played NC State.
Well, was
that 2 weeks ago?
That was 2 weeks because I had Virginia.
You're right. They were supposed to play Notre Dame. Apologies. They were supposed to play Notre Dame last week.
I had Virginia last week over NC State.
Right. So Campbell has 4 games on their schedule. They lost by a point to Georgia Southern. They got demolished in the first half of that Coastal Carolina game. They came back. They covered that. It was 43-21. App State, they covered in I think, backdoor final minute, 52-21. Wake Forest, the spread on this one is real weird, Joe, because it's the same spread as pretty much App State. It's 33 or 33 and a half. I mean, again, I don't think you're going to go crazy over the hook, but 33 or 33 and a half in this game. I'm not huge on this. I'm probably not playing it, but I know that all the guys have been riding the Campbells. So I mean, I
Wake Forest
totally
can score. They can score. That's for sure. They suck on defense. Yep. The line's probably dead on, but I'd lean just like Coastal Carolina. Campbell covered that one too.
I mean, if you're asking me who's the better team, Wake Forest or App State, I mean, regardless of the way that App State's played early on, I'm still going to take App State. So, if they can cover against a team like App State, I think they can cover against Wake Forest, even if it's in, at Wake Forest. I mean, it's an hour and a half down the road. You know what I mean? It's not like a massive travel game or anything.
That 63 total's interesting.
Yeah, it is. 63 and a half is the total.
So if they want them to win by 35, let's call it 65. So 35-20. Yeah.
So again, it's the last game of the season for Campbell. This is probably not exactly the most important game for Wake Forest. Okay, coming up, they have a very, very big game against, in my opinion, UVA. Now that's 2 weeks away, so they have a week to prepare. It's not like it's a look ahead or whatever. But I'm just saying, Campbell's last game. You know what I mean? This is probably an important game for them, especially in their home state against players who got recruited to a place they didn't go. Usually, that's a little motivation factor. So,
okay. The other game Friday night, just to hype it up here, BYU's legit. They're legit, but they're going to get a test this week. So Louisiana Tech put up 542 points against Houston Baptist, but they gave 5 yards, excuse me. But they gave up I don't know how many through the air, and maybe that was junk time. BYU, dude, is just crushing. The thing is, though, is 24.5 is a good dangle. I lean over immediately. Immediately I lean over. BYU is going to win this game. Do they win by 3+ touchdowns? That's the question. It's in Provo. The more. And listen, I'm telling you, man. I've watched every snap, I think, of BYU this year, and we were wondering if Zach Wilson was going to play last week. He did.
I know. I was shocked that he actually ended up playing.
Troy was so bad. I don't know what the hell happened to them. I never seen Troy play that bad in my life. But listen, Louisiana Tech won the first game this year against Southern Miss, 31-30. If you remember that, then they beat Houston Baptist 63-38. So their 2-0 record is a little like Southern Miss sucks and Houston Baptist is whatever they are. Okay. They can score, but like this is a BYU team that is definitely a top 25 team this year. They're asking you to beat it by 3 touchdowns. I think the over is the play better than taking a side.
It's 4 scores too, because the line is now 24.5. It opened at 24. It was at 23.5 for a little bit. It's at 24.5 now. So it's actually 4 scores. It's 4 touchdowns, because 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Still, BYU technically is covering.
What's hard about that over for me too is the BYU defense at times gives up no points, no yards. They get out on 3rd down every single time. That's why they get the ball back and score points. I love BYU this year. I think they can run the table. It's just about covering the spread. They're not. They're a hell of a second half team. They've covered both second half bets this year. That's probably something I'd take a look at.
Yeah, La Tech also is a little fraudulent on that 2-0. Let's not forget that Southern Miss should have probably won that game versus La Tech in that second week, and that La Tech won basically by a quarter inch in the end zone. I mean, they won 31-30. It was one of the most even games you'll see. And if Southern Miss's quarterback Jack Abraham doesn't throw an interception basically in the red zone, that was horrendous. I think that La Tech ends up getting blown out. Now they have gone to Luke Anthony as their legitimate starting quarterback. So it was Aaron Allen for a little bit, and now they've gone to Luke Anthony. I think he threw like 6, or Aaron Allen, excuse me. And now they've gone to Luke Anthony. He threw 6 touchdowns last week for Houston Baptist. Now, I don't really know how you can really quantify Louisiana Tech, a 1-point win versus a real bad Southern Miss team. They blew out Houston Baptist, who, did put up 38 against them. They scored 66. BYU, as you said, has been a fucking machine. Now, Navy, week 1, hadn't tackled. So hard to gauge how good that was of BYU being good and Navy just not tackling and kind of not being prepped. I think it's probably a little, give or take a little bit of both. But last week against Troy, Troy decimated Middle Tennessee State, like just absolutely demolished them, and then got demolished the week afterwards, 48-7. I mean, that's an ass kicking if there is one. So BYU, as you said, legit in Provo. I don't think I'm going to have anything to do with this game. The total opened at 56. It's now anywhere between 60 and 60.5. It was a 59.5 a few minutes ago. That is now off the board at penny, so it's at 60 there. What I would say, Joe, with this one is I look at the favorite and say 20. If I can maybe a 24 on this one, maybe I'd consider taking BYU. But I don't think that I'll be, playing anything in this game. I just think that that's a really big spread, and I don't know enough about really BYU or La Tech at this time. If La Tech had played that week 1 game against Baylor, I might feel a little bit more comfortable knowing them, and BYU hadn't played a Navy team that didn't tackle. But just I feel like these teams are still pretty unknown because of their competition and the circumstances. I'd say they have one legitimate win, which is BYU's just demolishing of Troy. So we'll see. I'm interested in this game. I'm definitely going to watch it.
All right, moving on to the Saturday slate. We'll start with Missouri at Tennessee. Tennessee sucked last week against South Carolina, but they won 31-27. And Jarrett Garantano was bad. I just thought he sucked. Missouri scored 16 points in the final 16 minutes, including a touchdown at the end. They were trailing 35-3, which was a cover. And of course, they had the old backdoor cover there. They're going with
16 points in the final 4 minutes of that game against Alabama's backups.
Yeah. So and I'm looking here. Let me just pull it up. What's the spread here?
The spread is now Tennessee minus 12, and there is now a hook. It's now 12.5. The total is 48.5. Those are both 5 times lines.
Tennessee won last year's game 24-20. Like, they should be favored what they are. It's just, can they, I'm out on this one. I just thought that Missouri got demolished last week. And Tennessee does have to play better. Like, they have to if they want to keep a top 25. I think Missouri stinks. I just don't trust Tennessee to cover, so I'm not taking a side here.
Yeah, quarterback play is real bad for Tennessee. Guarantano is just he's not good. He looks like he makes tons of mistakes. Missouri, again, hard to tell. They scored 16 points in the final 4 minutes against Alabama's backups and somehow got a ridiculous cover in that game, but you can't really feel super confident about them either. This is to me, Tennessee or nothing spot. I will not be playing Tennessee, however. The total in this one, 48.5. I maybe look under, but I don't think I would touch this game at all. I just don't. I don't know enough about these teams right now. We saw Missouri just get throttled by Alabama. That's not surprising. Tennessee, really good offensively versus South Carolina, but really bad defensively. And Colin Hill, good quarterback, but he's not like explosive or anything. So I don't know. I don't love anything in that game, Joe.
All right. Here's an interesting one to me. These two teams always play each other tough. West Virginia, Baylor. I believe Baylor goes to West Virginia here. Brewer was okay last week. I know they put up points. This is always a game every year where I'm like, these motherfuckers. But Baylor won 17-14 last year. These two teams always play each other tough. Brewer is the better quarterback without a doubt. But last week, West Virginia lost to Oklahoma State 27-13. They hung around. They fell down 17-0. That's kind of where it happened. And then was it Winston Wright is now their quarterback. They have a decent little running back as well. But overall, West Virginia and in the Big 12 against Baylor always plays them tough. And what do we have for a line right now?
Baylor was 3 this afternoon. It's now Baylor minus 2.5. This game has been getting action, Joe. 60% of the bet on Baylor, 72% of the money on Baylor. I will tell you there was a large, sharp move off that 3-point line by a sharp guy today to the 2.5, and that was the reason for the move. I mean, this one is a very sketchy spread, right?
Well, I think the line's dead on the way that the teams play. Baylor going on the road, who generally plays way better at home than they do on the road. West Virginia played competitively with an Oklahoma State team that's really good without their quarterback. Dan, to me, I like the way Baylor played last week, and I think they have the better quarterback. I trust that quarterback going on the road in this situation, but these two teams play so close. Like, Baylor can't afford to lose a Big 12 game considering Oklahoma just lost. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, this is a really good spot for Baylor. The line's right, but this is like buyer beware here. You bet Baylor, you better know they struggle in West Virginia. They don't play well there. Like, this is a matchup where West Virginia gets them at home and it's always a dogfight. Like, Baylor's the better team. You put these two on a neutral site, Baylor wins. This is a scary spot for Baylor. I just think that with the right quarterback and the offense, the way that they played last week, I would say the 2.5 is a good spot.
I don't agree with that, though. Here's my problem. Thomas McVitie was supposed to be the starter for Kansas last week. He ended up being out for COVID reasons. They started Jalen Daniels. He's a true freshman.
I actually think he's better. I watched them both play. Go ahead.
Daniels sucks. I think that kid is trash.
I just think McVitie transferred. I've seen him before. Go ahead.
Oh, I like McVitie a lot. I thought he was really good early in the season. But again, I thought Daniels was a disaster. He wasn't prepped. The team wasn't prepped. They still hung around with Baylor. I think it was 41-17 was the final score. They were on like the 4-yard line with like 30 seconds left and didn't end up scoring. It should have gone over. Baylor may have gotten like backdoor cover. Either way, it was a frustrating loss for me because I was on Kansas. Kansas was, they probably should have gotten the backdoor cover. It was frustrating because I was personally on the over and was on Kansas. So I got the 61 and Kansas, and it was frustrating. I was not really impressed by Baylor. I didn't think they showed a lot though, so it's really hard to tell. Charlie Brewer was okay, I thought, in the game. West Virginia, I didn't see a ton of the Oklahoma State game because I was focusing on other games, but For everything I've heard, they were not impressive either. Jared Doji, who is their quarterback, was okay. I do take a look at this and say, well, Baylor's, this is probably an overrated Baylor team going into probably an underrated, West Virginia team coming off a game which they probably played the best team in the Big 12, Joe, in my opinion. I mean, at least in my opinion, and Baylor has a look ahead in 2 weeks. Again, it's not a true look ahead because they're not playing next week, but 2 weeks they're playing Oklahoma State and then Texas and then TCU and Iowa State. So they have murderer's row. They probably need this win, but I still lean towards West Virginia in this one. I just think Baylor's probably a little bit overrated, and West Virginia's probably a little underrated coming off a really, really tough game, at Oklahoma State, facing Chuba Hubbard and those guys. So I would lean West Virginia. I'm not going to touch it, at least not yet. If I can get a 3, I'd consider West Virginia play, but not at 2.5. I need that prime number at 3.
TCU travels to Texas. If anybody follows college football, you know that TCU has defeated Texas in 5 of the last 6 years. And we know that last week Texas got that 63-56 win on the road. They fell behind by 15 points. They came back. They hit the 2-point conversion, etc. Their defense is embarrassed from a week ago. If you think about this, through 2 games, right? Texas has 122 points and 1,100 yards of total offense. They've scored 16 touchdowns just on offense, dude. So, they're averaging 61 points a game, Dan. They're averaging 61 points a game. But TCU loses last week. They lose at home to Iowa State, who needed that win. 37-34 came down to the wire there. And really, to me, it was execution. I just thought they didn't play well in the end. Texas holds an all-time advantage against TCU, but 5 of the last 6 years, TCU has won this matchup. I know that Texas won 2 years ago at TCU, 31-16. There's a ball buster of a game, but the way that offense is playing right now, Dan, I don't want to fade it. And again, what is the line in the total?
So this one right now, let me pull it up here because I was looking around at some other spreads while we were doing this. It is now 11.5. TCU is plus 11.5. The total in this one is 63. Joe, what I'd say about Texas, and again, actually, how do you feel about the game, Joe? What are you leaning here?
I mean, TCU plays them tough all the time. The only thing that I like here is that Texas defense has to be better. They can't play that bad. The way that they score 13 points is fucking nothing. TCU off a bad upset. They could have beat Iowa State last week. I don't think it's a bad upset. Iowa State's a really good team. They were projected to be very good. Texas needs a solid win. A solid win over TCU solidifies them as a top 10 team. Can they do it? That's why they play the games, right? TCU is definitely a formidable opponent here. If getting 14, it looks good. I just, I think it could be tough early and then maybe Texas blows away late. But I think Texas wins this game. It's just, I think Texas wins this game. I know TCU is a fucking pain in their ass is all I'll tell you. I think this is about one of the worst spots you can possibly have for a team in Texas. I think this may be the worst spot I've seen in a long time. Texas is a massively overrated 2-0. Their first win was against UTEP, who I think is maybe one of the bottom 10 teams in FBS football so far. They are horrendously terrible. And now again, they're like 3-0 or 3-1 to start the season. They're 3 wins, I believe, this year, or whatever. They're 1-1, whatever they are, 3-1. Yeah, they beat SF Austin in a game they shouldn't have won. Beat Abilene Christian in a game they shouldn't have won, and they beat the worst team in college football, so that's playing so far in Louisiana Monroe. So to me, they are the most fraudulent 3-1 team. They played Texas and lost 59-3 in Texas. Texas last week goes to Texas Tech. Okay, now again in Lubbock, but still, Texas Tech, who almost lost to fucking Houston Baptist the week before, they're losing. They were down by two scores at one point, right, Joe? Didn't they have to do an onside kick? And Texas came back. Now they tied the game late. They got the onside kick, tied the game late, won in overtime. So now we're talking about an overtime game
And next week, they're taking on Oklahoma. So not only are they coming off an OT game facing two Texas Tech, who I think is personally incredibly overrated, probably coming off the Super Bowl, and UTEP, who's one of the worst teams. Now they have to look ahead to Oklahoma and worry about them. TCU last week was not good in the first half. I thought Matt Campbell had Iowa State very prepped for that game. Brock Purdy was very good. I thought Iowa State just in general was very good. TCU exploded in the second half, scoring 27 second half points. You want to know why? They went from Matthew Downing, who was started the game, to Max Duggan, who was the starter last year for TCU, Joe, and he was fantastic in the second half of that year. He was awesome in the second half of this game, almost brought them back. TCU won. In fact, they were up like 7 seconds left and Iowa State scored. They should have won the game. Iowa State ends up winning. TCU, I think this is a really good spot for them. They're facing Kansas State at home next week. Give me TCU in the 11.5. I love TCU in this spot this week. I think they're going to cover. Duggan's getting the start. Ellinger, and I think that the Texas defense was exposed last week. They're in a look-ahead spot coming off an overtime game. This is the type of spot you have to hit if you're a bettor, regardless of the past history between the two teams. And as Joe mentioned, TCU was with Gary Patterson has been very good against Texas.
They won 5 or 6 against Texas. So yeah,
and you're right. Like TCU was down 9 and scored late to make it a game. I apologize. Iowa State was up 9, not down 9. Sorry. So
all right, he's giving you a PP, everybody. I wanted to talk about South Carolina and Florida. You know me, I love Florida this year. I thought Trask was good last week, but you know who stood out to me from Florida was their big tight end Kyle Pitts.
He's awesome, dude. He's so good.
This dude's 6'6", 240, and could probably play today if you needed him on the Patriots. Now Trask threw for 416 yards. They won 51-35 on the road against Ole Miss, who hung around early. South Carolina played decent last week with their quarterback, and I just wanted to bring this up because I was looking at I love Florida, so I'm always looking for ways how do you fade Florida? How do you fade Florida? The one thing is South Carolina playing in Gainesville is terrible. I'm just trying to find the number here, but they haven't won in Gainesville. Where is it? I'm trying to find it here. They're not good. Yeah, they lose 31-27. Oh, they're 2-15 all time playing in Gainesville. Now, the thing is, can they cover the 17? Now, last year, Florida won 38-27 in the spot. So, South Carolina is a pain in the ass. They beat what? They upset Georgia. They covered against Florida last. This was a backdoor cover.
I remember that Helinski game versus Georgia. Yeah, it was a good one.
And so, South Carolina is a pain in the ass. They really are. I wouldn't touch this game. I would not touch this game. But I every week I want to watch Florida. They're my team. They're the team I like out of the SEC because I want to see what happens with Auburn and Georgia coming up in a little bit. But that kid Kyle Pitts stands out to me as like, whoa, team's got a problem with him.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns last week. Joe, you were right about Florida, and I was wrong. I thought they were getting too much hype going into the season, and fuck was I wrong, dude. You were totally right. This team, Kyle Trask was impressive. 6 touchdowns, 416 yards. Now, again, I know it's Ole Miss. I know new coach, new program and everything, so you have to, dumb that down a little bit. But I thought Ole Miss hung in the game with the Lane Train. Matt Corral and John Reese Plumlee both really, really good last week versus the Florida defense. So that is a concern. But Florida's offense, and as you said, Kyle Pitts was just ridiculous. I mean, really, he's a fucking monster, dude. I think he got like a 70-yard plus touchdown too from Trask as well, like in the third quarter. I did see that. I was flipping back and forth between this game and the Kentucky game while that was on. Florida was super impressive. The way I look at this one is, South Carolina, despite scoring 27, I thought that Tennessee was probably more terrible than South Carolina was actually good. And I'm a big Colin Hill fan. You guys know I'm a big Colorado State fan and kind of what they did there for the last couple of years. So I have a problem with this. Joe, honestly, if I'm looking at the spread and it's 17.5 right now, I would lean Florida. Again, I'm not recommending you play this one because I do think it's a lot of points to lay, even at home. It's a lot of points to lay, but I do think that you would look that way if you're looking for anything. And by the way, the total in that one is 57.5. 73% of the bet is on the over. There's a lot of people who see that Florida defense and say there's something they can expose there. And South Carolina obviously scored 27 on Tennessee last week. I think Florida will probably be better defensively, and I think that they're probably still really, really good offensively. So I find a hard time just backing South Carolina in the spot.
All right. This one's interesting. NC State goes to Pitt. NC State's in the middle of a 3-game stretch of going on the road on Saturday nights. They Wake Forest 1 week, Virginia Tech the next, and then this week they play at Pitt. Pitt's been good, man. I know they struggled that first game. Very good. They're 14-point favorites this week. NC State is a good little rushing attack. They can put up points quick. These type of games, I like the over. But NC State won the last match. It was a couple of years ago, 35-17. Pitt's on a roll. I think Pitt's the better team here. You're giving 2 touchdowns on a divisional game, though, and I don't like that conference game.
Yeah, I agree with you. They are 14 points. Pitt's offense has been underwhelming. I mean, I know that they beat Louisville, and I know that we were on that side last week, but they gave up a 75-yard touchdown defensively, which was disappointing, and offensively 23 points against that defense. You probably should have scored more. They scored 21 against Syracuse. Again, good defense, but probably should have scored more. I expect them to score more this week, Joe. NC State's defense is not very good whatsoever. I mean, I think they gave up 42 and 45 in their 2 games so far. So I expect Pittsburgh to do a little bit better offensively, but I wonder if NC State can hang around with them because Kenny Pickett just hasn't been impressive for Pittsburgh. And I do wonder if NC State will try and attack Pitt through the air instead of running the ball because they have been successful with that this year so far. 14 is a lot of points, even in Heinz Field. I would say probably if you're making me take a side, I'd take NC State. I don't think I would touch a side on this one. Maybe the over. I do look at that, Joe, and I'd say, man, at 47.5 or I think that you probably get at least 14, 20 points out of NC State and expect 25, 30 out of Pitt. I think this game probably goes over. I just it's not something that's playable yet, but maybe this is something I could look at.
All right, we got 2 more noon games. East Carolina goes to Georgia State. East Carolina played South Florida, UCF last week and got destroyed. They covered.
They covered. They backdoored it. Yep.
I got nothing for you here, Dan. These 2 teams I pay no attention to.
I mean, it's basically a pick 'em. It's 1.5 points. Colton Allers was really good. Or sorry, it's not 2 actually. Colton Allers was really good last week versus USF or UCF. UCF is super fucking explosive, dude. They're so good. Total in this one is 69.5. I thought Georgia State played really, really well versus Louisiana Lafayette. Lost by 3. They were leading at points in that game. Lafayette came back. I think this is one of those games where you're baiting either side. I think that this is a dangerous side to play. It's an over or nothing for me spot. I'm absolutely not playing the over. I think this is just a stay away game. It's a really tough one, Joe.
Okay. These next 2 games. By the way, this is a biased take on this game. I love Coastal Carolina. I love everything Coastal Carolina is doing. They have a rooster, and I love Allison Chains, so therefore I love the rooster. I love what they do, everything they do. They have kids from like my area on their team in Boston. Like I love everything that Coastal Carolina is doing, and they're at home. Good running game. Their backup quarterback actually played better. They didn't cover against Campbell, but that's because they felt bad for them. Arkansas State, I don't know what happened to them in their last game, but they're 2-0 against the spread. But if I'm biased take here, Dan. I love Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, Arkansas State has had two weeks of games postponed, Joe. So they have not played in a couple weeks since they beat Kansas State, which was a while back. Coastal, as you said, they were killing Kansas early on. Kansas came back in the second half with McVitie, and they put up some points. They won that game, and then Campbell, as you said, they didn't cover against that one. Yeah, I got to say 3.5 at Coastal Carolina. I really like Arkansas State, but I think that this is one of those games where I think you have to back Coastal or nothing. And Coastal is on my list. I'm not PPing it, but it's on my list of things to look at this week. I think they're pretty even. Grayson McCall has been super fucking good for Coastal, Joe. That was the quarterback that we didn't expect to start. That's been there, been good there. So he's been really fucking good. Now Arkansas State has those two quarterbacks. Okay, so they're going to continue to split time between Logan Bonner and Lane Hatcher, and it's hard to do that if one doesn't have a good day. How do you continue to split time? I just think eventually that's going to catch him. But two really good teams in the Sun Belt. I lean Coastal Carolina, especially if you can get the hook. Right now, it's 3 minus 123 even. So Coastal Carolina, if you can get that hook, instead of paying 20 cents, get it at 5 or 10 cents maybe on Saturday. I would look that way. I got nothing for you in the total. It's 65 and a half around that area. So I got nothing for you there. But I do like Coastal. I think they're going to put up enough offensively to not only win this game, but they might take Arkansas State out, beat them by double digits. But I'm not going to PP it because a lot of COVID stuff with these two teams, man.
Oh, dude, I just love Coastal. I'm just like, that's like a team. If I had a video game, I'd be them, and I'd recruit. And I like that. UAB, screw you. I had South Alabama last week. Your backup quarterback is better than your other quarterback. And they're 2-1. They play UTSA, who's 3-0. UAB's 20-point favorites. It's a lot of points versus a 3-0 team.
Yeah, again, UTSA's 3 wins are against Texas State, Stephen F. Austin, and Mid-Tennessee State. So, I'm not going crazy wild. Joe, the backup for UAB is now the full-time starter, okay? Bryson Lucero, he was awesome against South Alabama. Like, he was fucking fantastic in South Alabama last week. We both like South Alabama. UAB blew them the fuck out. And, they are one of the best teams in the Conference USA, if not the best team. UTSA barely hung on versus Mid-Tennessee State. Like, barely. I thought Mid-Tennessee State should have won that game, but 2-point conversion at the end failed, and, that's all she wrote. Very interesting game here. 20-point spread, Joe, in my opinion, gives it away. They want you to be on UTSA at 3-0 with a 20-point spread. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm rationalizing this line because it is a lot of points. UAB for nothing or me. Total in this one, by the way, still sitting at 55. No movement from the initial line. There is a 54.5 popping at 5 dimes, but it's 55 almost everywhere else. So, nothing crazy. I would go UAB or nothing in this game.
Okay. Moving forward, we're just moving along here. I don't care about these two games, so you can break them down if you want. North Alabama Liberty, got nothing. Abilene Christian Army, got nothing.
Yeah, Liberty has won, I think, their total games by a combined 8 points. I actually don't even have the spread off the top of my head in this one. I think it's 31 now. Liberty in North Alabama. I would lean the dog. I'm not touching either of these games. The Army game is a little bit more interesting just because we know them a little bit better, Joe. Obviously, this is coming off that shitty loss to Cincinnati. This may be a game where they just want to absolutely kick the shit out of a team, just kind of feeling bad for themselves in this spot. The spread in this one is 30, but again, triple option team. Total in this one is 50.5. I would stay away from these two unless you really feel you have a really good angle on one.
BC hosts North Carolina. We know UNC opened up first game of the year against Syracuse. They haven't played since because of COVID reasons. BC, I think, was looking ahead last week when they snuck out a win late, but those kind of wins help a team. They're getting 14 points right now. North Carolina 12th ranked in the country. This will be their first road game. First road game. Mac Brown, I know that team's ready to go because like when they couldn't play last week, I know they're itching. We know about the win against Duke. We know about their Texas State win last. I wonder if the layoff means anything for the Tar Heels because they took them a slow start and then they went off against Syracuse. We know about Howell. Kid's really good. You're going to see two good quarterbacks, Dracovic and Howell. I think Howell's better, obviously. Getting 14 points here. BC at home. Is it worth a dabble considering the layoff? And I just reading here, North Carolina is what did I see about this today that I thought was interesting? Anyways, does the long layoff that they've had now, getting out to that second half stretch and being off for 3 weeks, now going on a road, playing a BC team that's, they're a fine team. They won 2 games in a row that they had to squeak out, and then they blew out Duke, obviously. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
We definitely talked about how the Boston College Texas State game last week was a true look ahead, and I think we were right. Obviously, BC was down 21-7 to Texas State, came back and won that game, but it was not an impressive fashion. I think you can definitely acknowledge that's a look ahead spot to North Carolina, as they probably should have been. North Carolina got their game canceled against Charlotte because of COVID reasons, as you talked about. Dominated Syracuse in the second half of that game, kind of once they figured it out. BC 2-0. Nice win at Duke week 1. Texas State, whatever. I would chill on this game. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from North Carolina because I think you're going to expect BC's a really good shot with BC, but I don't know what you're going to expect about North Carolina. I'll tell you, the whole world loves the under on this game. We got 93% of the bet on the under. And that is a little bit confusing to me because Boston College has put up 26 and 24 respectively. I think Boston College will get into the 20s for me. So I expect North Carolina to win this game. So I would look at the over. If you're taking a shot, you really want something to play. I don't think it's a great play. I'm not going to be playing it myself, but yeah, it is what it is. And by the way, guys, if you've been listening to the game or listening to the podcast, please don't give to the PPs to anyone. If they're late, if you want to give them for tonight's PPs, yeah, that's more than cool with me. Like, if they come in late for Thursday, they want to get the PPs for tonight, that's fine. But going forward, don't give them anything else out. The whole point is to listen to the podcast. Otherwise, why do this? So please don't give out anything we're giving out that's not for tonight. So yeah. Anyways, that is what
I can just shut the chat off too.
No, it's fine. Don't shut the chat off. Just don't give anyone else out the plays for the weekend because that's the whole point of the podcast. So,
all right, I'm gonna circle that game.
You leaning aside there, Joe?
I'm gonna circle the game. BC opened 11. It's now up to 14. They're getting 2 touchdowns.
I see a 10. I think it opened 10. Yeah, it opened 10 at Penny.
Circling it. I'm wondering if this is like a BC, you get punched in the mouth by Mac Brown, good team, or hey UNC, BC's here. It's just one of those games for me. I need more time, sir. We'll talk about it on Saturday.
Cool.
Texas Tech at Kansas State. 2.5 point favorites at home. Oh, these damn Big 12 games, man.
It's a weird line, man. This is a weird one.
The thing with Texas Tech for me is I never know what Texas Tech team you're gonna. I know what type of Kansas State teams you're gonna get, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The Texas Tech team, I don't know. It's like, all right, what are we gonna get this week? Is the quarterback gonna go off for 6 touchdowns? They've always been like that for me, though. Even when Mahomes was there, I still wondered at times what they would do. This is one of those Big 12 games where I know people are going to like the spread because it's short. And generally, the over would be a play with most Texas Tech games. Laying off this one because I think both teams at 1-1 it can go either way. I'm not touching that one.
It's such a letdown spot for both these teams. Kansas State coming off a massive win against Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, like it's such a fucking massive win for them in their program to especially do it back-to-back years. Like it's huge for them. And in Texas Tech, massive, like they're up, with a few minutes left, up 2 scores. Texas comes back, they lose in overtime. Like, God, that's such a fucking disappointment if you're Texas Tech. So this feels like a potential letdown spot for both teams. Probably Kansas State a little bit more because Texas Tech is probably, a little bit pissed about that game. But, man, it's such a letdown spot. The spread being what it is, they want you to take Kansas State, right? They want it. I would stay the fuck away from this game. Like, because you just don't know. As you said, you don't know what Texas Tech team you're going to get.
All right, I think this is one of the games of the day here. Memphis SMU, dude, I bet this game every year. Memphis I had last year, they didn't cover at the end because of what the fuck was that? Did they throw like a 2-point conversion to a lineman? That's what it was, dude, because I only know this because I was in Florida last year when it happened. They instead of kicking the field goal, Dan, SMU did a 2-point conversion to an unbalanced tackle.
I remember that.
And it beat the spread, and then they went onside and whatever.
Yep.
All right. Okay, being honest, SMU at home I think should be favored here. They're getting +2. The hiccup that SMU had that first week concerns me, but since then they've been hot. Memphis hasn't played because of the damn COVID. They could be rusty, man, and SMU could be out 14-0 before you know it. But Memphis has these two quarterbacks are legit. Like, this might be like one of the better quarterback matchups we see in college football this year. Both these guys are going to get drafted, I think. Yeah. Memphis is probably the better team.
I'd say they have more talent. Is that fair?
Yeah, and SMU's like their coach left, and like their offensive coordinator left. Damn, this is a tough game, man. Normally, Dan, I'm Memphis here. Normally, I'm Memphis. The week off concerns me with them. Like, again, SMU had that shake-up first week. They didn't look great.
It's 2 weeks off, actually.
Okay, so yeah, it's 2 weeks then. Yeah. Normally, I'm on Memphis in the spot. I can't do it. I can't do it. The home underdog was a thing, right? Wasn't that a thing?
It was.
And now the home underdog's getting 2 points. It opened up at +1. I would probably say Memphis is the better overall team, more talent. I just think SMU has, the last 3 weeks, they've been getting better preparing for this game. At the same time, Memphis has had all this time to prepare for it. So, this is a game day. I'm going to discuss this on Saturday. I'm going to look into this one on Saturday.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with a lot of what you just said. Almost everything. Now, SMU didn't lose their coach and lost their offensive coordinator. But Sonny Dykes is still there. Shane Buechele is still there. Buechele versus, fucking Shane Buechele, whatever Buechele versus Brady White. As you said, it's such a fucking awesome quarterback matchup. To me, this is a game, if you like quarterback play, you absolutely have to watch. Memphis 2-point favorite on the road. Joe, it opened as a straight pick'em. A 0-point straight pick'em, -110 on both sides at Bookmaker. This one is, as you said, kind of tough. Memphis hasn't played in 2 weeks, okay? And they're going to be a little bit rusty. SMU, as you said, started slow versus Texas State, but they were really good versus North Texas and really good versus SF Austin. Now, again, remember the talent and remember, who they're facing. But again, still 65 and 50 points offensively. Their offensive clicking, not to mention, somewhat of a look at for Memphis. 2 weeks. They have to play UCF. So, maybe they're not super concerned right now, but I don't know. Something to factor in a little bit. The total in this one's 74.5. Okay. or 74. This game is crazy. Gun to my head, SMU, as you said, it's a slightly better spot, but I'm not fucking touching, dude. I can't touch.
Yeah, we'll discuss. Let's discuss this one on the Saturday show. I think this is.
We also don't know the COVID shit. Like,
yeah, who knows even if it even gets to that point. So
and everyone's going to want to play the over in Memphis SMU. Everyone's going to want to play the over. The whole world's going to be on the over. So I would just be careful.
All right, let's talk recency bias in college football. Alabama obviously looked good. They did. I thought they looked good despite the second half. Whatever, there was garbage time. Texas A&M though, woof. Recency bias here. When I see 17 points Alabama, I get thirsty. Dan, at home, I see 17 and I'm like, give me them points. I don't like Kellen Mond and Jimbo, and they have to play better. Texas has to play better this week. They can't be a 4-point victory. You know what I mean? They just can't look like that and play against Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a shitty spot for A&M. Okay, first off, I'm going to give them a slight pass of what happened versus Vandy last week, right? They were terrible. Like, they were horrendous versus Vandy. They went 17-12. Vanderbilt is probably the worst team in the SEC after Arkansas. They're right there, 1-2. Vanderbilt sucks. Like, they're bad. And Ken Seals, who's the quarterback there, bad. Like, not good. A&M was not good. And, Joe, next week, home versus Florida. And the week after that, on the road versus Mississippi State. So, like, this is like last week is probably a real look ahead because they're probably prepping for Alabama and Florida and all those other teams.
Let me throw this one out here. So, back when Johnny Manziel was on the team in 2012, right? I bet Texas A&M +6, and Johnny Manziel scored a late touchdown to Mike Evans. They lost 29-24, but Alabama has won 7 straight since that game.
Yeah,
and I might even be the other way around. Did Manziel beat Alabama? Yeah, they did. They upset them. That's right. I'm the other way around.
That was the Johnny Manziel, breakout game.
There you go. But that's the last time they've played. Besides that, it's been all Alabama the rest of the way, even with the points. I don't see that changing, but that's why they play the games. Again, I'm going to say that like 15 times today.
Yeah, again, Bama was winning. I think they had allowed 6 total points going to the fourth quarter. And the final 4 minutes, I think they allowed 13 points, and Missouri backdoored them. Now, again, it was against literally Bama's second stringers. I think if you're going to look Bama, I think it's a possibility that happens again, Joe. I don't think it will. I'm just saying it's a possibility. The spread's at 18 now. I think if you're going to look at something, maybe Bama first half, I want nothing to do with that game right now. But I do think that the spread is short, and that Texas A&M. The problem is that was such a true look ahead for A&M, dude. Like, it was such a true look ahead spot. Total on that one, by the way, is 52.5. Let's discuss this one more on Saturday. I think that maybe we'll have a better feel for it. But this is a crazy game. This feels like it could be an A&M backdoor. It really does.
South Florida takes on Cincinnati. South Florida sucks. I will fade them every week of my life. Cincinnati's good this year. They beat Army last week. They're 2-0, 1-1 against the spread. That's really all it comes down to is do they cover 21.5 or not? Because I don't think South Florida's going to win.
I mean, South Florida beat Citadel 27-6, and they were given 7 points in the end zone by a punter. They got shut out last week by Notre Dame, or 2 weeks ago by Notre Dame. They didn't get to play FAU, which is, I think, the game that would have told us the most about this team. Cincinnati is in a big letdown spot, though. Okay, they beat Army in a really, really, really tough game. They're obviously not looking at the Tulsa. It's a big letdown spot, which is why I think you haven't seen the spread move much off that 21 number. It's 21, 21.5 in different places. I think it's a South Florida or nothing, but there's not a fucking prayer under the South Floridian sun I would back for South Florida. So,
neither. I think they suck.
They are bad. So no, I would stay the fuck away from the game unless you really, really feel confident that since he's not going to look past or it's not going to be a letdown spot. The total in this one, Joe, 46. So like they're expecting South Florida to score absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? Like
They haven't.
They're expecting nothing. I would look under. I really think that this is a legitimate under spot. South Florida, Cincinnati coming off a letdown, offensively probably reverts a little bit after facing the triple option, and USF is just a terrible team, and they probably don't score a ton of points either. It's an under spot.
All right. You won't even see me touch this game. Oklahoma State at Kansas, Big 12. I don't know. I never trust Oklahoma State on the road. Never. I don't know what the quarterback situation is either.
It sounds like Spencer Sanders is going to start, but it's not confirmed yet. Okay.
And then Kansas, a bunch of motherfuckers, especially Les Miles at home. That's the fact. This game, no, out. Kansas could win the game outright. They could lose by 30. There's so many things that could happen in this game. Oklahoma State could choke one on the road. Out on this game. Out.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a stay away. This is a don't bet. This is a don't get suckered into the Oklahoma State minus 21, 22, whatever the fuck it is on Saturday. The talk earlier in this week, it's 22.5 right now, by the way, total's 54. The talk earlier in this week was that Spencer Sanders was going to get the start. I know he did not play last week for the people commenting about that game. It doesn't matter whether or not he played last week because, we still expected them to win that game. So you also don't know the Kansas quarterback situation. And if they're going to roll with that fucking freshman again, Jalen Daniels, hard pass on Kansas. So, no, I want nothing to do with this game. Nothing.
Okay. This game will have fans. Kentucky hosts Mississippi. I thought Ole Miss played decent against a really good Florida defense. And I thought that the quarterback from Kentucky is still working his way back from the injury. Lane Kiffin obviously is running the calls over there. So I don't know why, but in a way here, I feel like Kentucky's getting a lot of love. Maybe it's at home. I don't know. Terry Wilson was decent last week. Did have a touchdown, rush for 42 yards. He threw did he throw it? Yeah, they had 2 fumbles is what it was.
An interception as well.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I feel like Kentucky's getting a little bit too much love, but maybe Ole Miss is getting too much love too for giving up 53 to Florida.
Let's also not forget that Kentucky last week was 12 of 20 on third down. They got a touchdown taken away, and I'm sorry, Joe. You can say whatever you want. It is the worst call I've ever seen. His body was legitimately
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that got called off, but Auburn also had a touchdown called off on a pick 6 at the end of the on the goal line.
At least it was a real targeting penalty. At least like that actually happened. The Kentucky player's body was 3 feet in the fucking end zone, and they would have taken a lead and a half. So Kentucky, in my opinion, was the better team. 12 of 20 on third downs. Should have been leading at half. I think they should have won that game. Now, Bo Nix was really good through the air. I underestimated how much better he would be. He was much better. He made a pass in the second half that was just fucking perfect. It was a beautiful pass. So I was impressed with Nix. But that's not about that. Kentucky, Wilson, as you said, had that fumble. That was just what would you call that? Just he didn't get hit by anyone. He just fumbled it. So it just it was weird. I thought Wilson was really good outside of 1 or 2 plays in the entire game. But again, as you said, coming back from that injury, Ole Miss getting a lot of love for their offensive output, but again, getting a lot of criticism for their defensive output. Now, Joe, you said Kentucky is getting a lot of love this week. 67% of the bet right now is currently on Mississippi. 85% of the money is on Mississippi. Kentucky opened as 7-point faves. We are down to 6 on the board. Totals at 61.5. I expect Kentucky to play better. I expect Mississippi to maybe revert a little bit coming off a really, really good performance. Kentucky also should be really mad from last week. And Ole Miss has a look ahead. They're facing Alabama next week. So, again, fair enough. Kentucky is facing Mississippi State. At least it's at home. This is a game where I think you have to wait and see. I lean Kentucky, obviously, but I'm not touching it. Matt Corral and John Reese Plumlee are fucking fantastic. So I'm passing on the game.
Virginia Tech looked really good last week. Obviously they didn't lose, so that's good. They play Duke again, who's now 0-3. Keep talking about the quarterback every week. Chase Bryce, the transfer from Clemson, did decent.
He's had one good half. He's had one good half, 2 good halves, actually. He was really good versus Virginia first half. So 2 good halves.
So the last time the two teams played, Duke won 45-10. I remember this being a huge upset last year. I think this is like a payback spot for Virginia Tech. And at this point, Duke's at home. BC smacked them by double digits at home. I think this is a payback redemption for Virginia Tech after their 45-10 beatdown, but maybe it just shows that Duke and Virginia Tech play they are a bad matchup. So there's 2 ways to go with that one, and I have no interest on the side here.
Yeah, I don't either. And the big problem for me is Virginia Tech looking ahead to UNC next week and on the road at Duke. This is a team they should be. They didn't have half their team last week due to COVID. I think they were missing half their coaches too, and they still fucking rolled versus NC State. So they're talented, they're good. But the look ahead spot is a true look ahead. It's a double road game, Joe, at Duke, at UNC, and we've talked about Power 5 teams on those double road spots. So that is also something to work now to pay attention to now. COVID, I don't really know what the double road spot means this year, but just in general, it is not good for Virginia Tech, especially in that second one. I just think that, the total in this one's 54. The spread is now 12 in this game, Joe. This is probably a stay away or Duke, which is gross. I know it's also a revenge spot, which is why I want nothing to do with it, because I just don't think that there is a clear, concise betting angle to this one. You just don't know what you're going to get. So pass.
Cool. And for those who are listening, you have fantasy football. It just came out that they're going to consider anybody on the Titans or Pittsburgh on their bye week. So for all the people that were freaking out and panicking about that, you can now chillax on that one. Mid Tennessee State, the old cover-Rooney last week. I might have missed.
You missed the Florida State game. Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. Hopefully Florida State loses. How about that?
I don't even know if there's a line.
There is. I'll get it for you. It is 2-2-2. Florida State is minus 26.5. And I think probably almost every person in the world is going to be betting on them.
Is Deion Sanders on the sideline?
No, that's not. That's Jackson State, not Jackson.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think they're a different team.
All right. Nothing for me.
Yeah. Well, let's pass. Maybe we can talk about that one Saturday. Let's pass for that.
Yeah. Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, FAU. First game for FAU, by the way. Finally. They haven't played a game in weeks. I know they're 7-point favorites, but I got nothing. I haven't seen them yet. I don't know what they look like. Yeah,
we don't know what the status of Chris Reynolds is, the quarterback from Charlotte. It sounds like he is probably coming back, but we don't know for sure. Florida Atlantic, we don't know anything about a new coach. Yeah, this is a pass on the Charlotte game.
All right, sorry. 2 hours of this is killing me sometimes. Maybe we should save some for Saturdays. Western Kentucky, Mid-Tennessee State. Mid-Tennessee State covered last week. They threw a touchdown. O'Hare actually looked good. They had a chance for a 2-point conversion. They dropped it, and then that was it. They're getting 7 at home here. 7 at home against Western Kentucky. I know Western Kentucky's decent. I know.
Are they?
7 at home, dude?
Are they? I mean, they got blown out by Louisville.
Yeah.
They lost by 14 at Louisville, but if you watch the game, they scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. It should have been a 21-point beatdown. They lost to Liberty. I mean, like, I don't know how good Liberty is, but they're definitely not good. They're definitely not really good. I know Mid-Tennessee State's 0-3 and everyone hates them, but this is a Mid-Tennessee State or nothing play. Absolutely. Also, Western Kentucky looking ahead to Marshall because that is a really important Conference USA game for them. They're probably one of the best teams. Yeah, one of the best teams in Conference USA. I think this is Mid-Tennessee State or nothing. I'm going to circle back to this one on Saturday. I haven't done my full research on this one yet, but I do feel pretty good about Mid-Tennessee State.
Okay. Navy, 1-1, plays the air. The old Armed Forces game. I love this shit. This is the first game of the year for Air Force. This opened up as a 1-point dog for Air Force, and it went up to 7 for Navy.
Air Force opened as a 2.5-point favorite for a full day on Bookmaker. 2.5 point favorite.
Now, don't get me wrong. Air Force is in the Mountain West, so that's the reason why they haven't played yet.
Right. And so whatever, the Armed Forces game, they're back, yada yada yada. Joe, PP, fucking PP. Give me Air Force and the 7. Navy, in my opinion, has gotten their ass kicked by BYU, had to come back and barely pull out a victory against Tulane. Now, they haven't played in a few weeks. We don't know a ton about Air Force, so it's not like they can totally prep for this team. And Air Force is at home, open as a favorite, now 7-point dog. I understand getting the CLV and maybe liking, Navy at 2 plus 2.5, but at 7, fuck it. Give me Air Force, give me the 7. PP. Air Force is the better team. They were the better team last year.
They had a big-ass fullback. I wonder if he's still there.
I think they'll be the better team this year. That's my opinion.
I think Navy only won that game in the bowl, by the way, because of Malcolm Perry. He was just awesome. And you're right. Air Force was the better team a year ago. Georgia Southern, UL Monroe. UL Monroe's 0-3 at home. They're 0-2 against the spread. They're getting 20 points at home. I still don't like Georgia Southern after that first game of the year. I don't care about this game.
Georgia Southern, I probably would have taken them at 16.5. That was where the spread opened. It's at 20 now. I don't think that there's any value left. Monroe, because I think the 20, there's a chance Monroe gets a backdoor cover. And so, that kind of sucks. The total on this one's 49.5, by the way. I might look over. I think that there's a chance Monroe gets some points late in the game or whatever, but Georgia Southern should put up a 30 spot on them. Pass on the game.
Mississippi State takes on Arkansas. I always fade Arkansas. Always.
They covered last week. They were leading at half last week.
They did. But they're going to face Mike Leach and Costello and all those yards, and they're at home, and I don't know. Recency bias, maybe.
Well, I'll say this, and I think that this is something, and again, I'm going to give credit to my buddy Colby on his podcast there. The College Experience does a really good job there. Colby Dan. He talked about how the air raid offense in the SEC was going to completely change the way the teams play defense in the SEC because they all play press man, and now when you have the air raid,
yes. Arkansas is playing a different. Yeah, I read that they're playing a different defense.
So they blitzed LSU last week with the air raid. Now Arkansas is going to have to deal with it. I know it's super square, but it feels like 17 is just such a good fucking number. I'm not playing it. I'm not telling you to bet Mississippi State because I think Arkansas is also better than the second half that they had last week. They were up 7-5 at half, lost 37-10. Georgia came back or whatever, and yada yada yada. But Mississippi State or nothing spot for me. Point and simple. The total in this one's 68.5. It's really fucking high. I think that Mississippi State will probably come back down to earth a little bit. Obviously, a massive letdown spot for them. And they're at Kentucky next week. Now, Arkansas has to go on the road at Auburn next week. Double road game for them, so it's not great either. But Mississippi State or nothing, and I'm not playing it.
LSU goes to Vanderbilt. LSU lost. Do they even care anymore? I don't think they're going to lose to Vanderbilt. Will they cover 3 touchdowns? Probably. They're going on the road. It's LSU for me or nothing here.
Yeah, I concur with that, Joe. I do. I think Vanderbilt got really lucky on a Texas A&M team that was looking ahead to Bama, Florida, and whoever the fuck else is in that conference that they were playing after that. Whoever it was, Auburn, I can't remember. And LSU is probably fucking pissed. Don't you think they're pissed? Like you lose that game, I would be pissed.
Yeah. 3 touchdowns is where I would probably get it.
I think anything over 21 is tough.
Yeah. I hate Southern Miss, and I just never will bet them again. They're playing North Texas, so I root for North Texas as a slight favorite here. But, of course, Southern Miss probably gets their first win of the year because I said that. I just hate them both. Out.
Southern Miss got their dicks kicked in last week, 66-24 against Tulane. That being said, I think North Texas got exposed last week. And again, I think Houston Baptist exposed them in the second half of that game. Jack Abraham is a really good quarterback. And if you do not run the ball and you pass on this team, you can beat them. And I do think I'm not going to PP it. This may be something I come back to Saturday. I do think this is a game where Southern Miss ends up winning, gets their first win of the season. I think North Texas is going to lose this game outright. By the way, the total in this one, 71.5. Might be, did it hit 72 yet? No, it's still 71.5. I would look at the over too. I think that Southern Miss is going to put up a lot of points. North Texas is going to get theirs. Southern Miss should put up a lot of points in this one.
I took Oakland today and I got lucky. Baseball bets. UCF, who is 1-1 against the spread, 2-0, takes on Tulsa. I believe in the UCF offense. I specifically believe in them now at home. 3 weeks in a row, Dan, they have at least been able to win by, 14. Last week was 28 or plus. Now it's 21, and they're at home. I don't know. I got to look into it. I'm circling this one for Saturday, but man, UCF at home, man. Oof. They're going to put up some points.
Just remember that Tulsa is a team that always plays everyone super tough. And actually, Tulsa almost beat them last year. I think it came down to like one of the final plays of the game. But Tulsa was right in that game with them. They took shot for shot. They returned, their quarterback. I know they have a bye week next week. I do think that this is a pretty good spot for Tulsa. I'm not telling you to go out there and take them. I'm just saying I personally would not touch UCF this week. Would not do it, especially, I just think that Tulsa, 4 scores is a fucking lot. So I would 21 in the hook. The hook scares me. The hook is scary.
2 more 7:30 games. Oklahoma plays Iowa State. Iowa State's getting 7 at home. Oklahoma off the loss. I mean, listen. If Oklahoma's going to make a run, they're going to win this game. If they win this game, is it by more than 7? It should be. Yeesh. All right. I think Oklahoma bounces back here. I do. Yeah. Well, I'm not pulling the trigger, Dan. Not doing it. Wait until Saturday.
I'm not pulling the trigger either, but I'm going to be on the other side if I pull the trigger for damn sure. Oklahoma, look at game versus Texas this week. Coming off a terrible loss to Kansas State at home. Now they have to go on the road to Ames. That's tough. This is going to be another one of those spots where you see the Big 12 teams just have a really, really bad spot. And I think Oklahoma right now is in a bad spot. Now, the line opened at 9. It's down to 7. I don't want to touch a 7. I want to wait for a 7.5. If I can get 7 in a hook, I'm probably looking at Iowa State, and I might PP it. I'm not going to yet. But, yeah, I disagree with you, Joe. I think that this is a spot where they could absolutely lose their ass going into Texas. Now, Oklahoma maybe escapes with a win or a field goal last second, but didn't Iowa State beat them last year?
That's right.
I'm pretty sure they did. So I think this is not a great spot for Oklahoma. I would go absolutely Iowa State or nothing in that game. Like without question, the total now, by the way, 63.5.
All right, the game of the night is Auburn in Georgia. Auburn, I thought looked good. At times they didn't look great.
They look terrible. Call a spade a spade. They were not good.
All right. Here's their issue. Their defensive line was not good. They had dumb penalties, and at times, if Bo Nix wasn't on the move throwing downfield, they couldn't do shit. Georgia didn't look so spectacular on offense either. Now, can they run the football? Yes. Will their defense be better against Bo Nix? Yes. Was Auburn looking ahead? Yes. Was Georgia looking? Probably.
Georgia was absolutely looking ahead, yeah. I wonder if Auburn, how look ahead it was for them. Auburn on third down last week, 4 of 10 on third down, 0-1 on fourth down, okay? Georgia on third down last week, 6 of 20, 2 of 3 on third down. Now, the quarterback play for Georgia, you would expect to get better because JT Daniels is, I think, healthy, and I think he's going to play for Georgia, so he's cleared. That should help them a little bit. But, Joe, I think this is an Auburn or nothing spot. Georgia has Tennessee next week and in Alabama the week afterwards, and Kentucky and in Florida. So this is murderer's row for them. Auburn gets Arkansas next week. They don't have to take a look and start doing any sort of work on that whatsoever. I thought they were terrible last week. I did not think they deserved to win the game, but they found a way to not only win the game, they covered. Bo Nix was much better in the second half. And Georgia, I mean, their defense was good, I would say, against Arkansas, but fuck, dude, 5 points in the first half. Like, you're not going to be facing Arkansas this week. I would say Auburn or nothing. I'm not going to play it. I think I'm just going to end up watching this one, Joe.
Yeah, I'm waiting until Saturday.
Yeah, I think I'll wait till Saturday too, but I think this is an Auburn or nothing spot. And by the way, I think I would look over too. I think that would be the other thing I'd look at.
And finally, I've seen this spot before. Virginia getting 28 from Clemson. Remember the ACC championship game last year?
Yep.
Yeah. Nope. Don't do it. Clemson rolls. Don't do it.
I totally agree. I think this is Clemson or nothing here as well. Virginia 28. The spread. It's almost so similar to the UNC Syracuse spread week 1. Like UNC finds a way to cover those big numbers. Clemson probably finds a way to cover the big number. It's just don't do it. Don't be baited into the Virginia 28, despite how good they looked. It's 28.5 now. I would still lean Clemson. Total on that one's 55. Clemson team total is 41.5. They might get there themselves. So I would just pass it. Pass or Clemson. Clemson or nothing. And I know that's square, but whatever.
All right. Let's take a breather.
Whew.
Holy shit.
A lot of college games. A lot of them.
Yeah, that was woof. It was a lot. We're gonna we have to take those breaks now or whatever. I can use one myself.
I can cut this part out, but yeah.
So anyways, Dan, I wanted to go over this week's NFL games. And well, we already talked about the Thursday night game, so why don't we get into the I have trends if you want them. I know some people say screw trends, Joe. They've worked some weeks they haven't. So here's the teams I'm not betting on, just to throw this out there. I'm not betting on the Falcons. Done. The Philadelphia Eagles. Done. The Vikings for now are done. And Washington. Those are the teams I am not betting on right now. So anyways, we have a 1:00 Colts versus Bears. Colts are favored going on the road 2.5 this week. How do you feel?
I'm confused by the game. Confused by
Nick Foles, baby.
Big Dick Nick is starting, so I mean, That does kind of say, again, it opened at -1 for the Colts, so basically a pick 'em. 2.5 now. The Bears are going to lose some point, right? And this is a good team, right? We all agree that the Bears are going to lose at some point, and that the Colts are a pretty good team. Maybe this is the week. The total in this one is super low. I mean, really low. 43. I felt comfortable going under this one, actually, at like 45, 46. 43 is even too low for me. Dude, if I can bump it up a few points, I'll go under.
The total has gone under in 10 of the Bears' last 12 games at home.
Yeah, I think this is an under. I think it's an under spot. I really do.
The other thing to throw at you, the Colts are 0-6 straight up in their last 6 games on the road in general.
Yeah, not a good road team, but again, how many road games did they play with Philip Rivers? Totally different quarterback.
Two.
No, they put. Did they play 2? No, I think they played 1.
Jacksonville, right?
Jacksonville. Yeah, they played 1. They're 2-1. New quarterback. I don't put too much stock into that because the team is very different. This is an under or nothing for me on this one. I don't want to touch a side on this one. I think it's dangerous. I think you're playing with flyer either side.
Okay. Next game that we have here is the Bengals Jaguars. I think Joe Burrow has been pretty good.
He has been. I agree with that.
And I faded the Jags last week. Didn't give it out as a PP or anything like that. But yeah, I think the Bengals, after a tie, I think should be favored this week. I'll give you any trends that I could possibly see in this matchup. Let's see. Jaguars 4-1 against the spread the last 5 games on the road, but the Bengals are 2-18-1 straight up last 21. But again, that doesn't matter against 2 new quarterbacks here.
Yeah. So here's go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
No, I really
okay.
I got nothing really here.
So here's the way I look at this. Jacksonville started off their year versus 2 division teams. I always preach that divisional games are totally different than non-divisional games. Beat the Colts, lost to the Titans 33-30. Then on Thursday night versus the Dolphins at home, they get absolutely shellacked, right? Cincy ties Philly, loses to the Chargers 16-13, loses to the Browns at Cleveland by 5, covers the game. So they are right now 2-0-1 against the spread. I think they're going 3-0-1. I like Cincy. I want to wait for a 2.5 on this one. I think there's a chance we're going to see a 2.5. So I'm not going to PP it. But if it's still at 3 on Saturday, there's a good chance I'll end up doing it. I'll probably be on Cincy. I like them and I trust them more than Jacksonville. I also think that the total at 49.5 does seem a tad bit low. So yeah, there you go.
Okay. The next game is the Browns Cowboys. So again, I don't like the Browns. I like the Cowboys here. I thought they had a good shot last week, and by the way, I lost that. I took the under second half. That touchdown pass is balls late in that 2 minutes to go. I don't know why they keep throwing there, but whatever, it works. But the unders were so hot in Cowboys road games, and it did. That's why I took it, and I lost it. I doubled down second half, and fucking Russell Wilson, is playing so great. But the Browns 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 after and against the spread win. I don't know. Who do you like in this one?
I don't really know. I feel like the majority of bettors are going to be on Dallas, and I think that's probably the right side to be on. Home versus Cleveland. Dallas has really not started well. 1-2. That whole division feels like they've just started poorly. But Cleveland was really good versus Washington last week, and I think you have to give them some credit for back-to-back wins. Now they're both home wins, and they got literally just wrecked in week 1 against the Ravens. Again, I think the Ravens are a really good team despite what they put on tape last week against Kansas City. I just, I don't know. I'd say Dallas. I'd say Dallas is probably the side, and I'd say the over. I'd say Cleveland's going to score some points. I don't love that Dallas defense. I'd say Dallas in the over.
Okay. Seahawks live. Bet the Seahawks live because McCarthy. Yes, that was probably a smart play from you, buddy. Okay, moving on. We got the Saints in line. Okay, what? I love to fade the Saints. It's something I just love to do in general. I thought they'd win on Sunday night. I really did. What was it, Monday night?
Against who?
Green
Against
Bay.
the Green Bay. Yes, Sunday night.
Sunday. I thought the Saints would win. I did. I hate Taysom Hill shit. Well, I know he helps, but like I've always hated the gimmick. I've never liked it, so I'm just gonna stick with hating it. Both 1 and 2 here. Drew Brees has not played well. Now he's going on the road, and I know it's still indoors to the Lions, who've been at least putting up points. But to me, it really does come down to the coaching matchup, man. I feel like the Saints have to bounce back in the spot, plus of who they played. But like, look at these numbers are incredible, dude. Saints 7-1 after a loss. Saints 12-0 in October. The Saints are 8-0 in their last 8 games on the road in October. The Lions are 3-11 in the last 14 games overall. The total has gone over in 4 of the Saints' last 5 games versus the Lions in general. So like everything points to, the Saints in the over. But like, I don't know, is that too square?
I mean, I'm not backing the Saints right now. I'm not. What I've seen from them the past 2 weeks has not been great. Now, they looked okay in the first half versus Green Bay, but then I thought they were terrible in the second half. The coaching has been bad. The Taysom Hill usage has been bad. The Lions, I felt like, didn't deserve to win last week, but at least they played well. And, they got the win on the road at Arizona. So I think that if you take a look at the two teams, in my opinion, Detroit has the more impressive win. On the road versus Arizona compared to New Orleans week 1 versus Tampa, where I thought Tampa was one of the worst week 1 teams that we saw. So, I don't know. I think that Detroit has been the more impressive of the two teams so far. That being said, how does Detroit stop Alvin Kamara? Because he was ridiculous last week. Does New Orleans try and match up against Golladay, who, he was big last week being healthy? I don't know about this one. How about this? I hope they fucking tie because I have both these teams on the under win total for the season. I hope they fucking tie, and I wouldn't. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this one, dude. I'd lean Detroit, but I wouldn't fucking touch it with a 10-foot pole. So yeah, there you go. I'm not backing Drew Brees right now. He looks like shit.
Me too. Seahawks go on the road to the Dolphins. Dolphins getting 6.5 at home. This just looks like on paper, like, what do you give me 6.5? Seattle. And I'm trying to just see some trends, but the Dolphins are 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 after and against the spread win. And they are very good against when they host teams from West Coast. 19-3 in their last 22.
Of course. It's probably the furthest point from the West Coast there is.
Yeah. So that's what there is for that. There's no real other trends out there besides the Seahawks are 1-6 in the last 7 games versus the Dolphins in general. So the last 7 times they played the Dolphins, they're 1-6 against the spread. They're 2-5 straight up.
So I'm not going to take Miami. I'm not PPing them. I'm not betting them at all this week. But if you're making me pick this game, I'm going to take the 6.5 of Miami, and I'm going to try and get a 7. And the way I'm looking at this game is Seattle has to travel from Seattle to Miami. Now, normally the West Coast, East Coast thing, I don't really give a shit about anymore. That hasn't been around since for years. But this is a really far trip. Miami's really good at home. Seattle's kind of cold right now, and Miami's not. I don't know. They're not to mention, I think Seattle's been really, really, really fucking good. At some point, they have to come back down to earth. Doesn't sound like they're going to have Chris Carson this week, so that really hurts them. I don't know, Joe. I don't want anything to do with this game because it is super trappy. I just think that Miami is probably the side, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna fade Seattle right now. And Russell Wilson, who looks like the MVP through the first 3 weeks of the season. So, pass. And the total now 153.5. They think Miami's going to score some points. They do.
Chargers at Tampa Bay. Just hear some of these things. Tampa Bay, second in yards per play. Tampa Bay ranks 28th in penalty yards. Woof. The Chargers rank 5th in time of possession. The Chargers are 2-7-1 against the spread in their last 10 games overall, while the Chargers are 8-2-1 in their last 11 games heading to the East Coast. But the Buccaneers in general, 6-1 straight up in their last 7 as a favorite. Any of those trends stand out to you when it comes to looking at this game today or Sunday?
Nope, not at all. 2 brand new quarterbacks. So I think that you kind of have to take that into account. It is a really far trip again for the Chargers, but again, I don't know, man. This game feels weird. It feels like there's a chance that Herbert could have his first like absolute clunker of a game, right?
Yeah.
Like Tampa Bay is really good against the run. He could struggle without the running game. They could, force him to pass. And Brady probably has a decent game against this team. He always plays well against the Chargers, it feels like. And I know that Godwin's out. I know Fournette's out for them, so that does hurt their offense. But still expect Ronald Jones to be, good. I don't think Scotty Miller's playing either, so I think he's like legitimately down to just Mike Evans. I still think Tampa Bay will be good enough offensively to win this game and cover the what is the spread now on this one?
7.
Really? Yeah,
7.
7. Yeah, I still think Tampa Bay is good enough to cover the 7. The total at 43 is interesting because I would initially lean under, but it opened at 45.5 and it's down. And I think probably you're going to end up seeing a ton of people on the under and say, this is the under game of the week. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to play anything in this one, but I do think Tampa Bay is probably this side.
Ravens off a loss to the Chiefs, traveled to Washington. Right now, the Washington football team is getting 14 points at the moment, and I just wanted to give you some of the stuff here. Total's gone under in the Ravens' last 4 games overall. Ravens are 6-0 their last 6 games on the road against the spread.
Yeah, it's a shitload of points to be giving up on the road, especially 2 touchdowns on the road on a short week, after a bad loss. Again, and let's not beat around the bush. That was bad. That was bad. Under would be the first way I would look at it. Just from the short week, bad loss, changing offense, trying to do different things. I think that the under is probably the side. 2 touchdowns is too much to lay, don't you think? I don't think I'd lay.
Yeah, but yeah, you would think that. Yeah,
I want nothing to do with the side.
I'm gonna do some research, look up double-digit dogs and how they play against a team that just came off a loss. I'll look into all that stuff for Saturday's show. Cardinals Panthers. Just talk me out of this one. Right off the bat, I look at it and I say the Cardinals are getting 3 points against a Panthers team without Christian McCaffrey that did win last week, did play well. But dude, these trends, holy crap, you got to see these. The Cardinals are 7-1-2 against the spread their last 10 on the road. They're 4-1 against the spread the last 5 in general. The Panthers are 1-10 straight up in their last 11 games overall. They're also 0-4-1 in their last 5 as home underdogs.
I mean, they were pretty good last week. They deserve to win.
Square as hell.
Yeah, it's square, but it's the West Coast, the East Coast thing that's going to have people concerned and taking Carolina, and I don't think that's a really good angle at all anymore, despite the fact that we just went over how Seattle to fucking Miami and LA to Tampa are actually some pretty decently long trips, but nonetheless, I'm going square here, Joe. I'm going Arizona. If there's a 3 and a Hawk, I wouldn't take it. I'm waiting for a 3, or I'm not touching it. If you really, really want Arizona, you got to get a 3. Got to get a 3. Got to get a -110. Got to get a 3. Maybe -115, but got to get a 3. So, yeah, 3 and a Hawk right now. Nothing. Pass.
2 0-3 teams, Dan. Forget about the line. Who's winning? Vikings on the road at Houston.
Fuck, dude. I don't know. I don't. I mean,
look, I thought the Vikings were going to win last week. I did. thought they're going to win. I didn't think the Texans were going to win.
Yeah,
But listen, let's give the Steelers credit. They
came back.
So
Houston was up in that game early.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They came back. Minnesota loses to the Titans. The Titans are 3-0 and 0-3 against the spread. It's like the first time in like years that's happened. I think it was like 2008 or some shit like that. That a team has happened like that. Minnesota did not look good on the road last time.
Minnesota is a road underdog, 2-8 last 10. But the Texans are 2-6 last 8 as a home favorite.
Yeah.
The only thing I can tell you in this matchup is the last 4 times they've played, the Vikings are 4-0 straight up.
I got nothing on here. Nothing.
Yeah, that's a 0-3. Could literally go either way. It's like, holy crap. Yeah, it's a
fucking pass, dude.
Giants, Rams, double-digit team. Awful loss. Like Baltimore, goes back home, takes on a Giants team that's depleted. And Rams are 7-1 against the spread as double-digit favorites. They're also 7-0 against the spread their last 7 after a loss. But how about the Giants here? 13-3 against the spread the last 16 games just on the road in general.
It's not bad. So they've been a good road team, but again, new coach.
Also 6-1 as double-digit underdogs last 7.
Yeah, the Rams laying 12 is a lot of points. That being said, if you're asking me to choose between the Rams or the Ravens to lay double digits with this week, I'm still taking the Rams instead of Baltimore. That being said, I don't want to take the points. I am going to give out a play in this one. I am. I'm scared about it. But PP Giants Rams over 48. I am scared about it. I'm openly admitting I'm a little scared about it. But the Rams are running and throwing the ball very well. The Giants should be able to score some points here. Okay, they should. They're going to throw a lot in this game. They're not going to run the ball super well. You're going to throw a shitload. So I'm going to say over in this game, but I do not love it. My least favorite PP.
Giants on the road. The over is hit 8 of the last 11, averaging 52 points a game. The Rams last 6 games overall, over 57 is the combined average. So there you go. That's gonna make you feel a little better on that one. Bills Raiders. Bills. Are you gonna fade him, Dan? You gonna fade him? You gonna fade him now? Yeah, you're gonna fade him again. That little Josh Allen there guy going on the road.
I had Buffalo last week. Let's not get on me.
No. Are you gonna take him again? You gonna take him again?
No, they deserve to lose the game last week. They got bailed out by a horrendous DPI call, and I don't give a fuck what all the Bills fans say. Fuck you if you don't think that was a terrible call.
Well, no, just the Raiders. The Raiders are beat up. They lost to the Pats.
Yep, they are beat up. They have no
rubs. I mean, if the Pats beat the Raiders, don't you think the Bills should beat the Raiders?
I mean that would be the way I would look at it. Yes, but that being said, the Raiders are still have a really good win under their belt. Buffalo, in my opinion, has one really good win. I was not impressed by the Jets win. I'm not going to give them credit for beating the Jets. I didn't think they deserved to beat the Dolphins, and they should have lost last week. In my mind, the Bills could be either 2-1, 1-2. Okay? That's how I feel about the Bills. I feel the Raiders got outclassed by a better team who was more prepared by a good coach. But the Raiders still played well. Renfro made a really nice play at the end of the first half. I thought the Pats pulled away in the second half. I thought they played very well. The Bills are having a hard time stopping the run. And I think that Josh Jacobs could expose that if he's healthy enough this week. I'm not playing it. I'm just saying I think the Raiders have a chance this week. It opened 1.5. And no, I do not like the Minnesota-Houston over. So for those asking, no.
Patriots, Chiefs, 7 right now, saving it for the weekend. But a lot of things favor the Patriots as far as time of possession, rushing yards. They don't blitz often. The last 3 matchups, they've been in every single game. Every game or won those games, except for the last meeting here. Recency bias, I always feel like, is a big thing. Patriots obviously could be 3-0 right now. The Chiefs coming off a really good victory over. It's just the more I look at it here, the Patriots getting 7. We know all the Patriots are never 7-point dogs. When's the last time? How many times have we heard that one this week? All I can tell you is in these spots, the Chiefs are 8-0 straight up and against the spread their last 8 games at home in general, and they're 9-1 against the spread in their last 10 after and against the spread win. A lot of things favor the Chiefs in this spot. So I don't know. I want to wait. I want to look at it. I want to know who's playing, but it's hard to fade the Chiefs. But I'm going to bring up recency bias. I just think that maybe the 7's inflated because of that.
I think the 7's inflated because of the performance in Baltimore. I think this is.
Yeah.
Right. I think this is a legitimate letdown spot for Kansas City. I do. Short week. Okay? Short week against who I think listen, I like John Harbaugh as a coach. I think he's a very good coach. I think he was horrendous in that Monday night game. Honestly. I think that Harbaugh lost them that game. I didn't think they managed the clock well. I didn't like their offensive scheme. They're running the ball early successfully. They get away from the run. They start passing. They finally get a stop. They do 3 passes straight. I put the loss more on Baltimore just not being able to compete with the coaching. And I think this week, Belichick has a plan. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to come out and they're going to win the game because Kansas City beat them last time, as they should have. I think the last 2 times, actually, as they should have. That being said, I think Kansas City is the Patriots can hold the ball, run the ball, power run against you, have a very good secondary, one of the best secondaries in the league, which I think matches up extremely well with what the Chiefs want to do. So, yeah, I lean the Patriots. I'm not taking it. I'm not PPing it. I'm just saying, and again, I go against my home teams all the time. I think Kansas City is going to get a lot of love with that 7 line.
Yeah, I'm waiting this one out. I want to know who's playing. The couple of guys are coming off the IR for the Pats. James White's back. Let's see if he plays. Damian Harris, Gunnar Olszewski, Bo Allen, just to mention a couple of guys that could help. The only thing that concerns me, and really concerns me here, is Elair. Excuse me. Patriots haven't been great at stopping the run yet.
No, but I'm not super impressed by him yet. I
think he's dual threat, definitely dual threat. He hasn't had his first game was, again, that was against the Texans. So, but yes, the only and I don't know why the Raiders went away from it last week. I can't tell, maybe because Jacobs got hurt and then Booker fumbled. So maybe that's why they went away from it. But it'd be interesting to see how the Patriots play against a team that run, and if they gotta run, then that's good for the Patriots too.
I was going to say, I think you let them run. I think that the Patriots.
It's the old no Sean Moreno game, right? Peyton Manning, Sunday Night Football. Dude ran for 280, and the Pats took the wind, and the ball went off Welker's foot. Remember that?
I do. I was at that game, actually. And,
that was a coaching masterpiece.
Yes, it was. Now, the Patriots were down.
Ridley fumbled like 3 times in the first
in that first half, and they benched him and they came back. But the Pats should have, I think, in my opinion, probably should have dominated the Broncos, if not for the turnovers in the first half of that game. It's very possible we see something like that again.
I completely agree. Mahomes, though, is a different beast. Mahomes in Russell right now. Russell Wilson. Wow. They're on fire. Which one's going to get cooled off first? That's going to be the big question there. All right, Dan.
I'd go Wilson. I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game by a lot right now.
I agree. All right, 2 more. We know that the Steelers-Titans game's postponed. Eagles, 49ers. Now, I don't know who's returning or what for the 49ers. I don't know any of that stuff.
Mullins is starting.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Okay. I would take the 7 with the Eagles, but they're on the list. So I'm out. I would take the Eagles, but they're on the list. Out. I got nothing.
I do think it's interesting that San Francisco is laying 7, and the rumors are that Garoppolo is out this week and Kittle will play. So I think that's super fucking interesting that San Francisco is laying 7 at home with Nick Mullins over Philly. Like, if you look, I don't have the look headlines in front of me, but if you looked at the look headline, I bet you this was a 3, maybe 4 line, and we're up to 7 now. It opened 5.5, but we're up to 7 now. This is starting to get crazy, Joe. I know Philly is bad. I know they're bad, but this is kind of nuts, right? Like 7. No, I mean, very limited fans, if any fans at all. I don't think there's fans in California, and no Jimmy Garoppolo. Probably no Raheem Mostert, although he has not been officially ruled out. I don't know, man. I know Philly has been real bad to start the season, but they're a half game out of the fucking of the NFC West, NFC, excuse me. Half a game out. Like, I don't know. I think if you're going to see an upset this week, I think this is it. I would lean Philly.
Eagles 5-1 against spread the last 6 on the road. Eagles 11-4 straight up in the last 15 games at night on Sunday. 49ers 6-20 as home favorites. 49ers 6-14 last 20 when hosting an East Coast team. So a lot of things favor the Eagles. I'm not doing it. They're on the list. I'm not doing it.
I get it. I do.
But who knows? Sunday night, I might be like,
I might take Philly.
And then the other team that's on the list, I can't do it. I'm sorry. Atlanta, Green Bay. So just I'm not taking Atlanta. I'm not doing it. Packers are 7-0 straight up their last 7 games at home.
No,
the over is also very big too.
No Alan Lazard for Green Bay. I think that's a gargantuan hit for them. I think Lazard is one of the best players, who has been one of the best players in the league so far. Devontae Adams, we don't know. My guess is if they're going to be super careful with him, that they won't play him again, but he might get the chance. Green Bay's typically super careful with injuries, so you might see Marquez Valdes-Scantling as their number 1 wide receiver, which is terrifying. We don't know what Julio is going to be this week for Atlanta. I assume Julio is playing. I don't know. This feels like the makings of a bust for Green Bay. I know it's in Lambeau. I'm certainly not advocating to take the Falcons. It feels like this is just a letdown spot for Green Bay. But Julio did return to practice today, so I assume he's playing. Just feels like a potential letdown spot. The Falcons are better than 0-3. The Packers are I'd say the Packers are a fair 3-0, but maybe should be 2-1. You can make that argument. The total in this one is ridiculous. It's 57. It opened at 58. 58. Sorry, it's down to 56.5. It opened at 58. That's fucking crazy. I think we should wait on this one because we don't know. I need to know about Devontae Adams. I need to know if Green Bay is going to have any sort of semblance of a passing game, and just kind of all these factors. So I'm going to pass. So,
all right, Dan, that's it.
That's it. We're done.
I didn't want to do 2 hours, but we're 2 hours and 10 minutes.
We did 2 hours. So, oh well, shit happens.
2 hours and 10 minutes. And we're back on Saturday, 7 to 9 on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Well, more plays. I feel more confident this week that we're going to spread the PBs out a little bit. We'll have definitely more plays on Saturday.
All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy tonight's game. I do want to just throw one more thing out tonight that I saw that was crazy. Do you know that quarterbacks that play in their first game in prime time, like, dude, I don't even want to tell you the number, Dan. 9-1 in their last 10. And I took the Jets, so if you see, they'll look for a second half bet somewhere tonight. I guess there might be There might be one if things aren't looking good early. So, all right, I got to get out of here. I'm Joe Murray. He's Dan Lifshats. This has been another 2-hour version of Over Under 985.
Who you got? Have a good one, guys.
All right, I'll see you Saturday, Dan.